the question to be answered is, what was the importance of Puritanism in the American founding? And I think that the Puritans had a great deal of influence on the founding of America. And this influence comes from their stance on education, from their moral and ethical codes, and also from the way they viewed the church. The church was a very important part of their community and their life. They would attend church every single Sunday. It was mandatory that you attend church in a lot of instances. And the church was the center of the community. The church was usually the largest building, and that's where you would go to hear the sermon. If there were any kind of important announcements or proclamations, that was announced from the church. Now, the sermons that were preached were to be based upon the Word of God. That was the only thing that you could use when the ministers could use when they were developing their sermons. And there were two different types of sermons that the Puritan ministers would preach. You would have your regular sermons, and then you would have the occasional or the election sermons. Now, the regular sermons were preached 2 times on Sunday, and then the occasional or election sermons were preached on an occasional basis. They were sometimes preached at times of Thanksgiving, proclamations of Thanksgiving that maybe the governor announced. Usually they were preached at the first meeting each year of the election or the new legislature. And sometimes if there was a need to call the militia, they would also preach to the militia. And these sermons these election sermons and the sermons in the church spoke on different themes. The themes that, we are sinners and we have to rely upon God for our salvation. The covenants that they had, if we do God's will, then God will bring his blessing on us. If we obey his rules and his laws and his commandments, then he will bless us as a group of people. And eventually these sermons, they would start speaking on themes of liberty, especially as the conflict grew with England, especially as the king was issuing more taxes, more rules and laws and regulations that the colonists felt were unfair. And so these sermons that were preached from the pulpit to the people dealt on these themes of liberty, of we must rise up against the tyrant, that we have a biblical mandate not to have to live under the rule of a tyrant, that we are not sinning if we revolt against the King of England, and that if we fulfill our obligations to God, then God is going to also take care of us and our posterity. And so, as they showed in the PBS documentary New Adam, these ideas, these themes eventually said that, okay, these struggles that we're having against the King of England, these taxation without representation, this revolution is logical because the God of nations sees it as our cause and that our cause is just. And so that's why I think the Puritans had a big impact on the founding of America, because these ideas that this revolution was something that was appropriate and proper before God helped spur on the revolutionary cause. If I can stop this.